My curly friend.
We are live.
Yo, 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 yo. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Vancity Beats, Eats, and more.
Oh, I didn't realize we were all going to move.
I
Nice.
forgot my note.
Very good improvisational skills from these folks over here.
I stayed at the same one.
One more time.
More.
There it is.
Woo!
Let's go.
Yeah.
Pitch perfect.
Yeah, you are.
Let's go.
Welcome to episode 16, season 2. Our very special guest today is the Delicate.
Hi. Hi, friends.
Hello.
Hey. Cool.
I'm so excited to have you. We're very excited to have you on the program.
Thank you.
How are you feeling today?
Good. I feel really great and cozy. I'm very excited to have you both in my creative space here. I feel like there's something exciting about to go down. What are we
It
doing
started
anyways?
already.
What are we here for?
Thank you so much for welcoming us into your
course.
sacred creative space.
Heck yeah.
And you know, what we're doing today is we're going to be getting to know you. We're going to be asking you questions
Nice.
about your life,
Yeah.
about your music, about your
Beautiful.
creativity.
Love it.
And we're just going to go deep.
Deep with D.
Deep with D.
Nice.
So people get to know D.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Are you
Nice.
cool with that?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready.
Because you don't seem that interesting at all, actually. Like,
Yeah,
not
I'm
even
pretty
close.
Normie. You know, my nickname is Normie. Very
Norman?
normal.
Norma?
Normal Norma. Normal Norma is actually my name. Cute. Hi, guys. Whoa, what's up? Ask away. I'm just over here drinking some tea.
Well, let's do a little recap.
Oh, nice.
So, Dee has been performing and touring since the age of 16.
Truth.
Used to go by the name Erica Dee.
That's right.
Has been all over BC, Canada, and around the globe performing, which is amazing.
Thank you.
And you've been releasing music, a lot of different albums, and most recently the one that dropped in 2020, Moonbeams and Frequencies. It wasn't, 2022.
2. That's right.
Yes.
She's still a baby.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Moonbeams and frequencies.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was your first project under the new alias, new name, The Delicate.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks
All
for doing
right,
your
that's
research.
that's the quick recap.
Cool.
But we'd like to start today by asking you about your early life and your upbringing. Can you tell us about where you were born and how you grew up, your family members?
Yeah. Cool. Wait, am I supposed to look at you or them?
You can
Anybody out there?
You can alternate.
How do we know how many people are tuning in?
We'll find out later.
Love that.
Spiritually, through
I feel there's,
ESPN, you know?
I feel there's at least 3. Yeah, because there's 3 cameras. Okay. So early child life. Well, firstly, I'm very grateful that I was born into a family of musicians. So my parents met at Berklee College of Music in Boston, in case anybody doesn't know where that is. Well, I guess there's a couple Berkleys, but yeah, so they met there. My dad is a jazz guitarist. My mom is a singer. On my mother's side, I'm Italian, Spanish, Irish, and my mother's uncles, Frankie and Rudy, had a big band, a jazz big band in the 1950s called the Della Band.
Whoa, and where was that?
That was in Boston.
Okay.
Yeah, all immigrants.
Boston.
Boston, yeah. I showed up here. Well, I don't want to get too far away in the story, but we're starting with the deep lineage first,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so my mom grew up in Boston. My dad's parents met in the Bronx in New York. My grandfather was always just like a huge music fan. Like he worked at one of the first Sam & Goodies and had like so many 8-track recordings and was big on music. Even till, his last year when he was like 101, he was showing me music I'd never heard of on
Whoa.
YouTube. So yeah.
YouTube?
Yeah. That's right. Murray knows what's up on the old internet. But yeah, so I come from a lineage of like music makers, music lovers. And then when I was 3 years old, my parents moved to Nelson, British Columbia. And my father helped to start the Selkirk College music program. So that's how I ended up getting the dual citizenship and ending up in the middle of, nowhere on the epic unceded territories of the Sinaiks people, which to me, I think it's always really interesting when people ask me that question, because it's like, not only did I not grow up with even just like my aunties and uncles around regularly or my grandparents, it was like I didn't really grow up anywhere close to where they were from too, right? Like my grandparents or my great-grandparents immigrated and then so on and so forth. So yeah, so having that family history, but then being so far away from it, for me, the music was always still in me. I definitely started there's photographs of me doing family concerts when I was like 3 years old, and just being in a musical household. My mom was in a band, my dad was, playing and teaching, and then my parents ended up separating, and then my dad married another singer who also ended up being one of my biggest mentors. So just like being around, music people, I have early memories of even going to like some of the college concerts and like being like so excited to be there because they had donuts, obviously. And then the teachers from the college remember me like, oh yeah, Dee, I remember you. You'd always fall asleep like in the front row at some concert, So really just been around music my whole life. And then, talent shows, the classic thing. I sang Emotions by Destiny's Child.
Oh, I thought it was Emotions by Mariah Carey.
I mean,
which
that
that's
would be
a fire
insane.
song.
Am I saying the right in the word? Broken heart, it's just emotions taking me over. It was like, yeah. Me and this other girl, we sang it,
Yeah.
and I remember like that high note. Yeah. Did you know I'd be lost without you, baby? And I was just like, yeah, I hit that snap. Oh yeah. So, sorry. Yeah, okay. I think I went into a different key there, but I was just reliving a memory as a teenager singing Destiny's Child. I did go back to Boston like every summer, which was epic. And that's when I would like record cassette tapes of Jammin' 94.5. And I would come back with all the best hip hop music and R&B, like LL Cool J, Brandy, Monica, I remember all the 90s hip hop coming back home with these cassettes. So high school, and then I actually moved to Boston for grade 11 because my mom had moved back there. And I went from, small town Nelson high school to like massive suburban American high school. And like, it was definitely, a pivoting point in my life. Like definitely out of everything that I've been through in my entire life, that year, brought me like more than anything that I've ever experienced as far as like culture, eyes being open. Like Nelson is a small town, which probably at that time only had like 13,000 people. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I think there was like 700 people in my high school versus like maybe 150 or something like that. So it was at that time that I first really started writing music. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like extreme culture shock.
Do you think your upbringing in Nelson brought you any advantages, or did you bring anything with you from Nelson to that experience?
Oh my God. Yeah, totally. I mean, I showed up there, I was like just this pure like hippie skater raver chick that was just like, everybody's awesome. And then I was like, oh my God, there's so much sadness and so much suffering. Like we didn't even have like unhoused people or like, all sorts of things that I hadn't seen. And even just within my family alone, there was a lot of mental health stuff that I'd never experienced before. So I came to Boston and was like, I have this light and I have this medicine. And I started writing rhymes. And like the very first song that I wrote, I remember writing it on my mom's computer. And that was like a song about basically just bringing people happiness and joy. And so from that experience where I was like, wow, I have this gift, I have this energy, I can sing to people, it makes me feel better, it makes them feel better, I should probably follow this passion. And I feel like that same energy, it felt to me like I was just like channeling my first song, and whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, creator, was just like, this is your purpose, this is what you need to do. And that's been, that same energy that's followed me through ever since. And then after that experience, I came back to Nelson for grade 12. And at that point I was like, okay, like I got songs. I just spent a year in the Bean, AKA Boston. And I'm like all, grown up and I wanna start blessing mics all up in this place. And then my Uncle Sonny was starting a live electro funk band. And I was like, yo, Uncle Sonny, can I be your backup singer, you know? And he was like, yeah, for sure, like come to the rehearsal. And so I went to the rehearsal, and it was like 30 plus year old like rock musicians, and then this one younger like double kick drum and bass metal drummer, and they were there trying to cover like DJ Hula Hoop's mixtape. And I was like, wait a minute, you guys are doing like electronic music, like rave music? Like I was like, wait a minute, Uncle Sonny, like they're trying to learn like techno? I'm like, listen, I've been going to raves since I was 12 years old. I got this. And so then I brought like, you know, Jill Scott's drum and bass, like Buggin' remix, and like all this like, you know, Groove Armada, AK 1200.
Nice.
All these like classic rave anthems to the band. And they were like, this is great. We love this. And then, you know, instead of being the backup singer, I got pushed to the front, and it was me and one other singer that was like the main front people. The name of the band was Superfly.
Yes.
Yeah. I wrote a hook that was like, and now you'll fly, you're super fly, something like this. And then we'd all have our solos and be like, guess who's fly? Jamal's fly. Anyways, something like this. And then, yeah, that was like the start of my career as a young person. And I remember like hiding in the green room before, you know, showtime. And then from there, I was like singing with DJs, started working with some local hip hop artists. I opened for like Pigeon John, the Pocket Dwellers, Lyrics Born, like all these huge hip hop legends that were coming through Nelson at the time. Somehow I managed to like, to get on those slots. And it was just so funny because they would be like, just, you know, after you perform, you need to leave. And I would just like hide in the green room and just like watch from the stage basically. And I'm never going to forget watching Lyrics Born and Joyo at the age of 16 and how like impactful that was on my career for sure.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a lot. Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to make sure my phone's actually on Do Not Disturb because I think I heard a vibrate. Okay, boom.
Bada boom, bada bang.
Bada boom, bada bang. You heard it here first.
Whoa. That I mean, that's really extensive already.
Yeah, sorry, that was a...
No, I mean, that's cool. That amount of experience already at that young age.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That was wild. Yeah, 16, 17. Yeah.
Do you think those tapes that you brought back from Boston helped you relate to like these artists that were coming through to Nelson, these underground hip hop artists?
Yeah, I mean, it was wild because like I mean, it's interesting too because even in the music that I'm making now, even versus moonbeams and frequencies, I'm like, wow, this is actually a blend of all of those things. Because like I'm a jazz baby through and through, like improvising, freestyling. That's what I started doing over DJs. In that same time when I was singing with Superfly. And it was like, whatever the DJ was spinning, I would figure out a way to sing over it, right? It was like, whether it was drum and bass, house, dance hall, hip hop, whatever. But I always had this like jazzy voice, right? But then the influence of, you know, underground hip hop, the golden era hip hop at that time, like I remember, you know, some of my first recording studio was a mini cassette recorder that I could listen to in the headphones and have this little mini mic. And I would just like sing over like People Under the Stairs, Tribe Called Quest. Like I would just like sing and rap basically in my bedroom over, not even instrumentals. I'm like rapping and singing over rappers. I don't know how that worked, but
you just tune them out.
Yeah. I was just in the zone. But for sure, like, you know, Lauryn Hill, the miseducation of Lauryn Hill, I don't think there's a single R&B artist that hasn't been influenced by that. Even hip hop artists too. Like that record changed the game for all of us. And yeah, I mean, and then when I think about what was on in the house, like even my dad used to play, you know, Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey and like Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, like Quincy Jones. I always knew who Quincy Jones was when I was a kid. So yeah, I would say like a combination of just being from the East Coast, having family back there. You know, I have like a very mixed family, and they would always do like cookouts and pool parties, and Jammin' 94.5 was always on. The one song that's like, the Aaliyah song, I think it is.
Aaliyah?
Where there's like the baby sample.
Oh, yeah.
I need somebody
to tell me that somebody. Are you that somebody? That's
it is.
The name of the song.
That song, I remember I was just like, is that a baby crying? Like, I remember that from such a young age. But for sure, like, having, you know, mixed family, having like that experience. And Nelson, like, come on, like Nelson is just like, nobody knows where Nelson is. I mean, nowadays they do, but back then people would be like, you know, even I remember going to school in Boston and they're like, oh, you're from Canada. Do you even have the radio? Like, do y'all live in igloos? Like, I was just like, wow, y'all are so ignorant to what Canada is actually like. And I think because Nelson is in between Vancouver and Calgary, I mean, a lot has changed since then, and with Shambhala Music Festival, you know, that was like a stopping point for a lot of those major artists. So, I mean, I even opened for like Master Ace and Nelson, like just so many classic hip hop, like from that same era. DJ Newmark is somebody who I met in BC, like performing. That's later on, not when I was only 17, but like when I was in music college. But yeah, I think that there's something about that East Coast, West Coast connection and just that whole, you know, era of musician and music where it was like hip hop was actually about positive, cool, creating change with purpose and all of these things, right?
Yeah, they called it, I mean, like, it's referred to as like conscious hip hop or...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I mean, I was that for sure.
Yeah.
Like, my raps were like, let's make a better living for the children to the world which we have given. I got this medicine. I will heal you if you let me in, you know? Like, just like vibes, like bright light vibes, you know? Yeah.
Is that how you would describe your style at that time? Bright light vibes?
Bright light vibes all the way through. I mean, yeah, I would just say that I was like a young MC vocalist finding my way, you know? You know, as we know, the music industry as a whole is a very male-dominant world, especially like in the Kootenays, especially in the electronic scene. It was definitely not an easy situation for me. It's so funny too, reflecting on how I had to be then versus how I am now, because then it was like I had to be aggressive and I had to prove myself. Otherwise, like people would not let me on the mic, you know? And it was like I had to be like, okay, it's my turn, you know? I was usually the only woman like behind the booth in a lot of those situations. I even remember coming down to Vancouver to rap. Or I was friends. I had met Curtis Santiago and Lady P and like Matt the Alien. They used to do a night at Shine. Did you ever go to that one? Yeah, it was like classic.
I got egged.
Egged?
On the outside of Shrine.
Oh
because
God,
there was all
terrible.
these residential spots there.
Oh,
and
you
then
guys
I
were
remember
making too much noise?
I don't know. Yeah, probably. And someone was like, can you guys be quiet? And then the next thing I know, an egg dropped on my head.
Oh my God.
I had to go into Shine and clean my hair.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's a sick story.
Yeah.
Too bad. We could have used that egg to make some pancakes.
But Shine was a vibe.
Yeah,
it was
I mean,
fully
Shine,
a vibe.
I think that was like a lot of people's first places, like emotions, reflections. Like there's all of these artists that came out there. And I remember, again, when I was like 18, you know, too young to be out there, but I had my sister's ID and I remember going in there and I went up to Lady P and I was like, yo, can I rock the mic tonight? And she was like, let's hear what you got, kid. And she like brought me to the back so she could hear me rap. And I like did a little thing for her. And she was like, you're not ready. And I think that kind of tough love, we need more of that nowadays, you know? And I was like, okay, you know, like I had my tail between my legs and I definitely was like, oh, that's too bad. But then I went home and then I worked on my raps and I worked on everything, my raps, my technique, you know, my rhythm, my lyrics, everything. I came back like a year later. And I remember asking her again, and she's like, let's hear what you have. And then she was like, tonight's your night. So, you know, we need that kind of mentorship. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, I went off
and
the
honesty
question that
too.
you asked. Yeah, that honest feedback. Yeah, we need that. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a bright light.
I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned how you felt like you had to act at that time in order to kind of get in or get on the mic versus how it is now.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that influenced your character?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I kind of was like, it felt like it was like I had to claim my space or I had to I had to prove that I could be in that space. And I think, you know, nowadays there is still that thing about proving, but now I think I'm just a lot more gracious and less hungry, you know? Yeah, I don't know. There's a difference too. I mean, back then I felt way more like an MC. Nowadays I say like I'm a singer, I'm a vocalist. Like MCing is like a second thing for me. But for sure, it was like Yeah. Nowadays, I'm like, instead of like claiming my space, I'm like offering space, and I enjoy creating space for other people to be discovered. And I also, I really appreciate that kind of tough love and that feedback. And, I don't give my unsolicited feedback unless somebody asks for it. But for sure, it's like, I think that's a really important thing. And I don't think there's enough of that in the music scene these days, as far as people actually wanting to be like, yeah, like for me, if my homies are at my show, I'm like, you have any feedback? And they're like, it was great. I'm like, no, like, give me the like constructive criticism, Yeah. Yeah.
When you were performing at that time and like doing music as Erica Dee, what were your goals? What were you striving for?
Oh, wow. Oh my God. I mean, I remember as a young person, like closing my eyes and imagining just being in front of thousands of people and having this like beautiful energy and message and light that would affect them in a positive way. And I also remember like visualizing, I even have like the same like melody and lyrics where I was like, yeah, I'm going to sing this, and then the physical's going to melt away and we're all just going to become one spirit, we're just going to be unified, like such a hippie, right? Just like praying.
That's that Nelson upbringing.
Praying that we can just get through this like separatist, and it's interesting because I think about that now and I'm like, I still want that for us, we are so separate, and that is the beauty of music, and that is the joy of being in creative spaces together, is that we do get to feel unified. But as far as my goals, I mean, I was so hungry. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I wanted to be famous. What were my goals? Yeah, I had all these ideas about things I want to do. And to be honest, I did a lot of them, So I graduated high school. I fell in love with a superstar DJ who used to be, what was their name back then? It was DJ Deluxe. Now they go by Skylar Love, and they're like one of the main like queer promoters here in Vancouver. They do a party called Babes on Babes. But there was a lesbian bar in Vancouver called Lick back in the day. And that's where I actually had like my first, Vancouver performances was within that scene. And so I moved here, I left Superfly, I graduated, and I started performing and working at Lick. And that actually taught me so much about, how to create a safer community space, firstly and foremost. Also sound, like the sound in that room was terrible because it was just like a long, skinny room, and like how to balance out, the highs so that it's not piercing. And then also just like performing for a bunch of people who could care less if you're performing or not, and how to like captivate an audience that's literally just there to like make out and dance, which like I think that is a great challenge for any person, really. But then I also started DJing as well, and I started working with different producers out here in Vancouver, and I got to this point where I really just wanted to understand music as a whole more for myself. Instead of just being like a singer on beats, I really wanted to start composing and creating my own stuff. So I think at that time, my goal was that. And then I ended up going back to Nelson to go study at the same college that my dad started. And then I even got to be his student, which was such a cool experience. Like, fully recommended if your parent is cool and they teach. Like, it's so beautiful to be able to see them in their element. And and then from there, I was in this group called Luscious Beats with Melissa Moratsky, who's an amazing percussionist, vocalist, MC. And the two of us, we would do a duo thing. She would have all her percussion instruments. And then that's when I really started learning about touring as well. Because she had already been touring with her band called Wasabi Collective, which I don't know if anybody knows who they are, but they were like a huge jam band in like maybe the early or mid 2000s. What do you call it? Like 2007, 2005? Like, she was my idol when I was in high school. I was like, this is so cool. Anyways, and then that's when I ended up meeting DJ Newmark, and he invited us down to LA, and that's kind of when things like really picked up for me. And then by the time 2010 rolled around, when the Olympics were happening here in Vancouver, that I would say that was like one of my biggest years, because I opened for like Lil Kim, Questlove, Collie Buds. Then I ended up getting a full tour with Pigeon John opening for DJ Shadow, like all over the States in House of Blues venues for that Shadow Sphere tour that he did. And that was like in the beginning of projection mapping, right? When he did that the dome tour. Yeah.
Whoa, that was crazy. I remember seeing that in Calgary.
Yeah.
The whole dome, the projection mapping.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Yeah.
Even Pigeon John. I used to listen to Pigeon
Oh,
John.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know who he is. I think he's a phenomenal writer and crazy performer, like wild human, but very, very talented. Yeah. Yeah. And that was kind of like at that time. So then I moved to LA, and I'd say at that point, you know, my goals then were also just like very naive, very just like, I want to be famous. I want to make it in the industry, you know? And then later on in life, you kind of realize like, okay, what does that actually mean? What do I have to do to get there? How do I stay true to myself? How do I stay authentic to what it is that I want to offer the world? And like, you know, moving to LA in your early 20s, like shooting for fame can be a very destructive and terrible thing if you don't have your feet on the ground and you don't have like good mentors and all of those things. So yeah, life.
Wow.
I know.
I mean,
so much
this is
already.
it's amazing to hear how much depth of experience you have, like in singing, but then just like where that journey has taken you.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Like, really, yeah, that's a lot. And when you mention those things about how do I stay authentic to myself or stay grounded or find that center, like what was that for you? What were the techniques you used or things that helped you do that?
Morning pages, always. Gotta do it. Gotta get those thoughts on the page, you know?
Tell the people what morning pages are.
Oh yeah, morning pages. It's just like literally just writing everything and anything on your mind for like an entire 3 pages. There's a really good book called The Artist's Way, and that was really helpful for me at that age. I never finished it though. I think I just like pretty much was just like, okay, morning pages, I'm good. But there's all these cute things like taking yourself on dates, taking yourself on like creative dates and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I would say at that time, you know, I mean, I've always been like, my dad actually taught me how to meditate when I was a teenager, and that was really helpful. He actually uses like his instrument practice as a form of meditation as well. And that was really cool to learn that from him. So I would say like a combination of like journaling, meditation, yoga, you know, these types of things help me. And then also just being in nature. Like even when I was living in LA, I was always going up to the canyons and just like trying to be in nature as much as possible. And then, you know, eventually you mature and you learn like what feels like the right thing to strive for or to chase, and then what it's just like, you know, not saying no.
And LA, I mean, a lot of people do move to these like hubs, artist hubs, and LA is known to be like quite a gauntlet.
Yeah.
What did you learn from being in that environment?
Yeah, I mean, I learned that there are a lot of extremely talented people. There's a lot of really lost people. You know, like any place that you go, it's like you really have to find who your family is and who are the people who are actually in it for the right reasons, you know? I mean, even thinking back on this idea of like, oh, I just want to make music to be famous. Like, that's not who I am now. That's who I was in my early 20s. But even now, I'm like, that's like the sidebar part of it. For me, it's like I've always just really wanted to just offer my voice and offer my light in one way or another. And like the thought of fame or like attention being the goal to me is so cringe now. Like I'm just like, it's not, you know, if I didn't have to show my face, if I didn't have to be like, look at me, pay attention to me, like I wouldn't, you know, I would rather just like slide a bunch of epic music out there and just not have to do that. But yeah, I mean, LA also taught me like how hard working people are. I mean, I even went down there recently and I feel like I have such a different, I've been going back down there. I've been spending more time there more recently. And I just feel like I have a new perspective, just like of LA, of New York, just around like the kind of respect that I have for people who really take their job seriously. You know, I think anybody can say like, oh, hey, I'm an artist, but it's like, how often are you actually going into the studio to hone your craft? Like I've met some people down there that are such incredible songwriters and really like analyzing songs from like the inside out and spending so much time just getting better and better and better at songwriting. And I think that, you know, I guess in contrast to Vancouver, which like I love Vancouver and I know we have a lot of really talented people here, but I think there's something about how comfortable it is here and how like nature-esque it is and beautiful. And because there isn't that feeling of like, excuse me, maybe like desperation or just like you have to prove yourself, that people maybe aren't on that same wavelength. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Like
what
more,
do you think about that?
more density, more competition.
Exactly.
More people. yeah, definitely elevates like what comes out. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think even coming back to that experience that I had with Lady P, like I think like, you know, that tough love kind of thing. It's like, well, why should I listen to you? And like, what is it about you that makes me feel like I should care about your music? And like that might sound really harsh, especially out here in Vancouver, where everyone's just like, everyone's welcome, we love everyone. But it's like, nah, like you really do have to work really hard to get into those spaces. Like, you know, I spent a lot of time working with a lot of people before I was like, okay, yeah, like, you know, Jerry Wonder, like a Grammy award-winning producer, wants you to come into his studio and write. It's like, I didn't just get there because I just was like a nice person or whatever. It was like, oh, okay, she's worked with this person. Okay, you get into the studio too, and they're like, sing me something. You have to be ready to like sing them something, you know. You can't just be like, oh, whoa, I wasn't prepared, you know. Like you got to show up.
Let me
like,
do my vocal warm-ups.
Yeah. It's like you bring your A game, and I think that again, like when you ask me what is it that LA really taught me, I think it was like to really take myself seriously, and also if I don't feel confident or strong in who I am or what I'm doing, like that needs to be the primary focus if I'm gonna go out there and put myself like out there like that. Yeah. I think so.
That's interesting. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I could talk all about the underbelly of you know, of the music industry and all of that, but I think like after all these years, for me, it's like learning what's important to take from those spaces and what to leave behind, right?
And what serves your best interests, but also like the progression of your art, your health.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, health is so important. Oh my God. That doesn't get talked about enough in the music industry. Yeah.
I mean, there's such a competition or that desire to be seen or validated or have the attention that maybe all that other stuff does get pushed aside when it comes to mental health, personal health, well-being, taking care of yourself when you're just striving for this goal. And I mean, you did mention about how these people that you worked with were kind of, you know, you had to be on and that they asked you like what makes you different from others.
Right.
So
Yeah. There's that too.
Yeah. What for you in considering like your family lineage and your upbringing and everything, like what from your family and your past has informed your style, how you express, and how does that make you different?
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think I have like this really beautiful, it's almost like a 360 perspective of music and like creating music, listening to music, curating music. I don't know if that necessarily makes, I mean, I would say that it does make me unique in that way, because when I'm listening to music and I'm taking it in from such a like deeper, like sensory experience, because not only, you know, am I a singer, I also play keys and I make beats, but then I also DJ. So then even when I'm thinking about the music that I'm making, I'm thinking about what I would want to hear as a DJ, but then I also enjoy listening to music. So then I'm like, how would I want to listen to this music? And then because I also curate music festivals, and I think about different voices and I never mentioned too, but when around that same time when I was doing the Shadow Sphere tour, I was curating the hip hop showcase for Shambhala. And to me, that was so much about like hearing different MCs together and like hearing different voices together. And then I come from a lineage of jazz musicians, but also from teachers. And so besides just doing music, I also have been facilitating community singing circles for the last decade. So for me, again, it's this idea of not just like a voice as like, okay, this voice is on top of this other thing. It's like, oh, the voice is actually this resonance and this tone and this texture, and like how can we open ourselves even more to it to allow the voice to not only heal ourselves, but to heal the other people in the room who are taking it in. And so, I don't know, I think I just have this like very like in-depth experience with sound and like sonic connection and community connection. You know, I think that those things are all really important to me. But as far as yeah, I guess we would have to separate like one thing, like what makes me unique as a vocalist. I would say like what makes me unique as a vocalist is that I have such a vast like archive of sound support as to how I would land, that like when I'm singing, it's not just one thing. It's like I love to play around with different rhythms, and I love to like, you know, and I'm very diverse in what I could sing over. Like I think having that lineage of being an improvisational artist, it's like I'm ready to go at any time over anything. And I think now, after all of these years, now that I'm really like producing my own music and really starting from the ground up, I actually am starting to hear, not just as a vocalist, but as a producer, like the kind of music that's going to support the voice. Because so much before, it would be like I would go to the studio, the producer would just give me a beat that they already made. Now it's like I'm making my own beats based on one thing or another that really inspires me as a vocalist, but also as a lyricist, but then also as like with the harmonies too. Like because I have this, I love so much to hear like different weird dissonant harmonies. I'm thinking about like the stacking different sounds of the voice and the textures too. I don't know if that really answers your question. I mean, I guess I don't know how to really distill that into like a one sentence, but I think it's really just that combination of like, you know, improvisation, dance music, and then just like R&B and hip hop. You know, I think that is something I have yet to fully put out a project that I think really shows my uniqueness in as a vocalist, a producer, and just a songwriter in general. Like I'm still really excited to tap into that.
Yeah. I mean, it's the combination of all of your experience. It sounds like everything that you've done, which is really cool because you have such a varied background too.
Yeah.
That you can use these different elements to create your style and sound. And it is interesting that you mentioned how there's a difference between how you were making music previously working with people versus now that you're producing the music yourself, how that's bringing a different awareness or approach to what you're doing.
Yeah, and I would say too, like, you know, I've been on stage since like 2004 or something, right? But I really only started like creating music or seeing myself, not that I started creating music, but I only started really looking at myself as like a studio artist in like 2016 probably. Like I put out my first record as Erica Dee in 2016, which I started writing like maybe in 2012 or 2013. But I didn't know too much about like, you know, the art of songwriting, the art of producing, like because I was such a like freestyle vocalist MC, and because I was so used to just singing to a beat that was already there, it was a very different experience to me. Like that was the record that I made coming out of music college. But I put out a mixtape in 2010 called Golden, and that mixtape has like every genre on it, you know, and that really shows again my versatility as like a singer, but also as a DJ. Because as a DJ, it's not like I'm like, oh, I only play house or I only play hip hop or I only play this or that. It's like I'm a very open format DJ. So because of that too, I think again, you know, I think often I'll ask myself this question, like, is this the music that I like, or is this the music that I want to make? Like, am I just wanting to make music that I actually like to listen to, or does this actually feel like authentically me? But again, like we're in 2014 or 24 now. So it's been like, what, 8 years that I've even really got that opportunity to like go into the studio and be like, what is my sound? Who am I? How do I want to offer myself to the world? Because before that, it was like, I have a gig every weekend. I'm DJing. I'm singing over my set. I'm just going to grab whatever instrumental I can, and I'm just going to write some cool, catchy hook for a bunch of people who are on the dance floor. It wasn't like, oh, let me bare my heart and soul. Let me talk about things that are really important to me. Like even before the Delicate as Erica Dee, I was mostly performing at like, you know, music festivals, electronic music festivals and nightclubs. When I made the Delicate, I was like, I want to play jazz festivals, theaters, community spaces. I want to sing for elders. I want to sing for kids. I want this to be like a very much community-minded experience. And also the Delicate is very much rooted in my Sing for the Soul series, right? The community singing workshops, which is so much about bridging that gap between the artist and the audience and making that like a full 360 experience. Or not, I keep saying 360, but just, you know, it's like a very cohesive experience where there is less that separation. Like here I am up here in the DJ booth and you're down there. So I think, again, like, I don't know, I'm just really excited. I feel like the best music that I have to make, I have yet to share with the world, and that there's just so much more coming out of me. And when I think about the future, I'm like excited to produce other artists and mentor other young people and really provide space for femmes and queers in the industry that really have felt like they, you know, maybe didn't have space to come through in the way that they do now, which is so exciting, you know? Yeah.
I mean, I'm really digging this exchange and hearing about like, what's going through your mind and what has gone through your mind throughout your life and experiences. It's interesting because I do think that when you improvise and freestyle, you are bearing your heart and soul in a way, and because you're being fully vulnerable
100%.
and just extracting from the moment and your feelings and stuff. But also in terms of artistry, I've always been attracted to listening to artists who I think are like super well-rounded, and those MCs in terms of like people who rap or rhyme, they have deep skills in freestyling and improvisation, but then they've also adapted to writing songs and that. So that's cool. And I think that I definitely agree based on what you're saying that you're still fine-tuning. Yeah. And clarifying. What you want to express.
Yeah, like even my last record, Moonbeams and Frequencies, which I absolutely adore and I love. Like, you know, we're sitting next to, you know, most of the instruments that started the record. That to me, I almost played it like really safe in a lot of ways. Like I'm excited to take more risks. And the thing that you're talking about too with freestyling is like, you're just an open channel. And that's so much about what I teach in my singing workshops too, because it's like, you cannot be anywhere else other than right here when you're improvising. Because it's like, if my mind is thinking about tomorrow or whatever, I mean, maybe unless you're freestyling about your to-do list tomorrow or what happened in the past or whatever, but that deep presence and just being in the room and reading the room and opening your eyes and seeing, like I always tell my students, like, open your eyes, because they'll go in their head. And I'm like, you're not even with us at that point. You're just somewhere else. But like, when you're in that moment and you are just like improvising, it's like you're channeling something, you know? And I will say, like, that state is very addictive. Like, I could sit here and just improvise and play keys and sing and make up stuff for hours. And like, I could just do that for myself and never share it with the world. But that part of like, oh, I actually have to turn this into a song. I have to refine it. I have to like decide what is the message of the song? Who am I telling it to? What is it that I want them to take away? Like all of these bigger questions that come around, like being more objective in your creative process. Like that's that step that a lot of us are like, oh man, you know. And then don't even get me started talking about what happens once the songs are actually finished. And then now you got to share them with the world and you got to get people's attention on social media and try and figure out why a label would want to sign you and how they're going to make money off you and all of that. I mean, to be honest, that part is the part that would make me want to just stay in my studio and never share my music with the world. And after putting out my last record and touring all last year and doing all these incredible artist accelerator programs and grant programs, I was so burnt out because I was all by myself. I was booking all my own shows, like putting out, by the end of the year, I was putting out all my own stuff. It was just like too much, you know? And I had to give myself permission to take a little bit of a break from touring. And now that I'm doing that and I'm focusing more on teaching, all this other music is coming out of me. So I think, like, you know, when you talk about goals as an artist and when we talk about health and care, like what my main goal right now is to just make amazing music and continue to contribute to the world, but also to contribute to my communities and to take care of myself and to take care of the people around me, but always to just be in that, like, that patience and that abundance mindset, as opposed to this kind of desperation, like you got to do it now, you got to get out there. Like if you're not putting stuff out, your Spotify numbers are dropping. If you're not on Instagram, nobody cares about you. Like these are the things that they try and tell us in the quote music industry. But for me, it's like, it's never been about that. So if I let that determine what my personal goals are as an artist, like I would be just a pile of mush. Like it would just not work. Yeah.
Definitely.
You know? Yeah.
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 Yeah, sometimes I even... Oh, what does that mean? Is it surprise time?
First bite.
What's that? Are we done?
No, we're not done.
Oh.
It is surprise time.
Okay. What was that? What did they play?
Oh my goodness. So we made this little intro for this segment called First Bite.
Nice.
And this is a
First
new
Bite.
segment that we are bringing to the show.
We've done it 2 times. The first time was very successful. The second time, Jamal did not do the dance. He did not do enough.
I was like, where did they go? And what are they doing? Are they doing my dishes in the kitchen? Like,
Okay, so these treats here are from a bakery on Commercial Drive.
oh, perfect.
Called Fratelli.
Oh, of course. It's
Bakery.
a classic. Oh, we're allowed to promote their brand?
Well, that's kind of one of the goals of the segment, is to showcase a local spot
Yeah.
and also try something altogether that we haven't tried before, so we can get our first bite reaction.
And it's Italiano.
Yeah, so we've
Which I
got...
am also Italiano.
That's why we did it.
Oh.
Yes, it was.
Oh.
It was on purpose, yes.
Oh my
So
God.
what we
Okay,
have
wait.
in front of
Oh, wow.
us, we have 2 Sicilian cannolis
Oh,
with
snap.
orange rind
Oh, okay.
and chocolate chips.
Oh, wow.
And then we have a classic custard cannoli.
Oh, wow.
And then in the cup here, we have a tiramisu.
Okay.
Yes, so
Making it very classic. Nice. So this
we're going to all take a bite.
You guys are.
You're not going to do it?
Well, I have to...
Okay. Right, zooming.
Oh, you're going to zoom
Zooming
in?
is very important.
Okay.
Which one do you want to try first?
I kind of honestly want to try the tiramisu first.
Okay, go
'cause
for
this
it.
is like one of my go-tos.
Actually, maybe I can slip my face in it.
Zoom first.
Okay. Oh, we're going to try it all together
Yes.
at the same time.
That's the point.
Holy smokes.
You ready?
Okay, what if it's not a great
How do you
reaction?
say cheers in Italian?
Chin chin.
Chin chin.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're not too sure.
No, I'm fully sure. The
yeah.
silence is a really good indicator.
Oh, it's interesting. It's like bitter. Okay, I'm doing second bite. Is that
got
allowed?
it's got is it amaretto or something?
Ooh.
Like it's like the coffee
There's
liqueur.
booze.
The coffee liqueur.
There's booze in there. Oh,
It's
just
coffee
kidding.
liqueur. It's
That's booze.
there's no percentage of alcohol once it's been cooked. It's
Oh
fine.
yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. Yeah, it's really good.
Have you ever made one of these before?
It's light.
I have not, but my grandmother, my nana, is a big baker. I feel like she definitely has. Her job, she used to cook for the priests at the church, you know, very classic. And she was like the cake nana. I know tiramisu is not a cake, but surely she made a bomb tiramisu.
That's a delicious tiramisu, actually.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Are you ready for that?
Yeah, the crispy one, huh? Oh,
So
nice. So-
That is the cannoli.
okay. Are you guys doing it at the same time?
You gotta bite into it.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. You get to share one and I get my very own.
That's right.
That's what I get for being the guest that talks so much. Do I talk a lot more than your other guests?
We've had lots of guests who talk lots.
Yeah,
don't worry.
that's the whole point of the show.
You forgot to mention the ricotta.
Oh, there's cheese in there.
Can you do cheese? I'm like, it's too late now.
I'm allergic to cheese and dairy and wheat and sugar and chocolate and oranges.
Wow, I really like the flavor of that one.
Yeah,
What
this
do you
is
think?
really good. Yeah, this is good. Yeah. The crunch,
The crunch.
the orange zest.
The zest.
The ricotta was I was
ricotta.
but I like that.
Fratellis! Been on the drive forever. Big fan.
Big fan.
Since 97.
You know what I thought you were
The
going to
sign
bring?
said.
Was coconut buns.
Oh.
But I understand. It's not in my lineage. But next time.
No, why did you think I was going to bring coconut buns? I didn't even think of that.
I don't know. Because maybe you guys wanted to let the people know about our town. For your next one.
Our town.
Our town or new town?
New town. Because those coconut buns.
Is that one of your favorite spots in the city?
It is. For a coconut bun, by far my favorite spot.
I'm actually not really the biggest fan of coconut buns.
Oh, fair
Since
enough.
I was a kid, I'd like eat around the coconut.
Okay. So you just like the bun.
Yeah.
Fair. Okay.
How about you?
Oh, I love coconut buns.
See, there you go. Boom.
But I love these desserts as well.
Yeah, I think I'm more of a fan of the tiramisu than the cannelloni just because, like, the ricotta is like, I'm like, is it savory or is it sweet? I'm not sure.
And your brain wants just one or the other. I didn't take you to be such a binary person.
You know what? Sometimes. You know? But I am excited to get into this one. Can we go like this? Oh,
Yeah.
You just go for the first bite. This is all you.
Okay. Oh my God, custard.
Do you like custard?
I do, but look at this one. This is like the bum. This is like me biting around the custard, like how you are with the coconut.
Yeah?
Jazzy.
Fine.
I didn't get any custard in the bite, but
You didn't
it was
want
good.
that? You were trying to avoid
I'll
that?
just try a little. Yeah. How do you think?
This is my processing face when the eyebrows furrow. It's like processing. Do I like this? I like this. I think how would I describe this? Because that one is definitely more hard. This one is like softer, flaky. I like both. I'm like not mad at anything Italian, TBH. So your turn.
Thanks.
Yeah. You know what else is really good Italian? Cacio e pepe. Have you ever had it? The best
No.
pasta in the world.
What is that?
Literally just means cheese and pepper. It's a Roman pasta dish. My first time I ever performed in Rome, the promoter made that for me in his house, and I was like hooked.
So what
There's
is it?
only
How
a
do you make
couple of
it?
places that have it here, and I have made it, but I've never made it as good as him. It's like a certain type of spaghetti. I can't remember the name. It's like a thicker spaghetti. Pecorino. Pepper. And then you use a bit of the
Like
pasta
black
water.
pepper.
Yeah. You use a bit of the pasta water to make that sauce. There's actually an Italian grocery store right down the way there that,
Rosa.
yeah, I've never been to.
It's great. They've got deli sandwiches. What else? They got sausages. They've got
Olives.
olive,
Cheese.
a whole olive bar,
Olive
cheese,
bar, of
and they
course
do
it is.
samples with the cheese.
Oh.
I've gotten samples several times.
Oh, I wish we could go do an episode in there.
Too many logos.
Oh, fair enough.
All that cheese has to pay us
Yeah.
to be featured.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, thanks so much for the first bite there.
Thank you. Yeah, that was great.
Shout out for Telly
Shout out for Telly
Bakery on Commercial Drive.
Okay.
And we have a few more questions
Nice.
because I'd love to get into now the delicate.
Yeah.
And what was your motivation to start this new project?
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of briefly touched on it earlier. Like, I wanted, again, like, as Erica Dee, I was just doing all of the things. I was like, you know, there's Erica Dee track with, you know, all sorts of different producers, like from hip hop to there's even some dubstep. There's quite a few house tracks with some folks in Berlin. And I really wanted to just like gather, like you said, all of that inspiration and all of that energy and put it into one cohesive project. So that was like one of the big inspirations for the name change and to switch. And then also I decided to become the delegate in 2019, right before the pandemic hit, and the intention was to do more like slower touring where I go into a community, offer my singing workshop in the venue that I would then be performing in. So it's like you're warming up the space, and then you're inviting the community to be a part of the show as well. But then, of course, the pandemic hit, and then things changed a lot, and singing indoors with big groups of people was like everyone's least safe feeling activity to do at that time. But that was like really, for me, it was about having a more intentional project that was meant for people of all ages, and really like sit down, present, listening audiences versus people that are just like wanting to, you know, have a good time and dance, which I think is really important too. But for this particular project, it was just like, it felt like an evolution of artistically where I wanted to go, but also like authentically my values, like where I was at. And then Della comes from Della Sandro, which is that the great uncle's big band. So doing an ode to my roots in jazz and to my family history and that as well. So yeah,
It's kind of like connecting with your audience in a different way as well.
Yeah,
it sounds
I'd say
like.
so. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like a more intimate kind of symbiotic relationship versus just like y'all are down there doing your thing and I'm over here doing mine. Yeah.
And this project, Moonbeams and Frequencies, that you dropped in 2022,
Yeah.
were you writing it throughout the pandemic?
So the songs were already written at the top of the pandemic. Like finished writing. No, yeah. So like 2020, at the top of 2020, I did a residency in Tacoma, and with my homie Aima the Dreamer, who's an amazing artist from the Bay Area, and we finished writing the last couple of songs during that residency, and then the pandemic hit. So throughout the pandemic, we were producing, and it was actually really incredible because I was able to get a bunch of musicians who were stuck at home, weren't able to tour at the time, to be a part of the record. So again, this idea of pulling in community, like I had amazing musicians from all over the States and Canada playing on my record. So that was like getting all of the final finishing touches, recording the vocals during the pandemic. And I recorded them back home in the Kootenays as well, which was really great. And then mixing, mastering the record, all of that happened throughout the pandemic. Yeah.
When I watched a video on your YouTube with you at Art House, I believe, and you talk about the album.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that it's about self-healing, self-acceptance, and self-love.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the inspiration and where were you at in order to write, to want to create the project?
Yeah, it's actually pretty wild because Kazi was, we were on a little tour like leading up to that moment, I think maybe 2018, and they recommended the co-producer, the person who I collaborated with, AstroLogical, and at that time, I was like, you know, transitioning out of a relationship that really wasn't serving me anymore. So that was like one of the first things, is like letting go of somebody who I really cared about and who I was really trying to help and support in their own kind of mental health addiction journey. And then that experience of like when you've come out of a relationship that was really unhealthy and codependent, and you've like given all of your energy to somebody, like reclaiming it back for yourself, and then even getting to know yourself as somebody without that as your identity. It's like, who am I outside of taking care of this person or making sure that they're okay? And I think that was a habit for most of my 20s, to be honest. Like most of my relationships were kind of projects or excuses to not make amazing art. I was like, oh, I could just focus on you instead of myself.
And we do that so subconsciously.
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, especially for femmes, it's like in our nature that we're supposed to nurture and take care of people. And so, yeah, Moonbeams and Frequencies for me was like so much about like reclaiming myself, reclaiming my body, reclaiming my queerness, like reclaiming my voice, you know, and who is this person that I want to be in the world, and how do I want to show up, and what are these messages? And I think also just like, you know, learning more about who I am authentically as a person, as an artist, and learning more about my lineage and my family ancestry, all of these things that all really fed into this project. And yeah, self-love is so important. I mean, it sounds like for some reason it's like a cliche thing to say, but I know we have like Valentine's Day, right, coming around the way, and I just like keep thinking about putting up these like cheeky little posts about reminding people to love themselves, because I think it's really important. Like it's, yeah, if we don't start with us, then how are we meant to give to anybody else? So yeah.
Aww.
Yeah. Love yourself first and last.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of people making money off that day, so
Yeah.
let's just remember that.
Yeah. True.
You know, so spend that money on yourself.
That's right. Love it.
I mean, it is kind of cliche in the sense that it's become like a widely used term, but I think at the essence of it is still very core to well-being and health and just feeling good.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
And I mean, also listening to that album, which we had it on before coming here too.
Oh, thanks, friend.
Yeah, that I love a lot of the melodies and the chords and just like the general vibe. I think there's like certain projects that just hit this frequency that is like feel good, and
you.
I think that definitely comes across
Nice.
in this album.
Thank you.
How do you get to creating that? Like you said earlier, I want to make amazing music. You know,
Yeah.
what is that
Yeah.
for you? How do you know when you're there?
Nice. Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting too, because like that record was that. It was like, this is the one, you know? And then it's like, as we evolve, we're like, okay, cool. That was a stepping stone. And now this one's going to be the one. I think most artists feel like that about whatever it is that they're focusing on at that time. Yeah. How do you get there? I mean, it's a lot of patience. It's a lot of like just being comfortable, sitting with yourself and just like trusting your intuition and following through whatever the idea is too, you know, and trusting that whatever's coming out is meant to come out. Like I'm writing some very cheeky, you know, not so innocent stuff right now. I'm like, cool. Okay, Dee. Yeah. Okay. You say those
Let's
things.
go there.
Like somebody's got to say them, you know?
Yeah.
There's like, you know, there's a million people that can relate to these feelings. So, yeah, I think it's just like being open to exploring whatever it is that's meant to be expressed at that time, and just knowing that that is just a capsule, or just like it's a capture of a certain moment in your life and your artistry of something that wants to be expressed, and then continuing to just make new stuff, really. Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah, I think getting there, it just is like a lot of just being comfortable being in your own space, and then being really intentional about who you pull into the project, because the kind of collaborators that I want to work with are the people who I really trust and who really see me and who create this safer container for me to be like, yeah, you do that thing, you know, and also like give me that good, tough criticism, but also don't try and take over and make this yours. Like hear what's already happening, understand the vision, believe in it, and then come add to it. But absolutely do not take away or take over, because that is something that is way too common in the industry, especially as a woman. So yeah, that's why I'm like, yeah, I'm making my own beats. This is so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, more autonomy
Yeah.
over what you're creating.
Yeah. Cool.
Amazing.
Thanks.
What are your goals for this year? What are you working on? I just want to mention that you've been curating the Nelson Mural Fest
That's right.
Street Fest or
Yeah.
Street Party
Yeah.
since 2018. You're doing these Sing for the Soul
Yeah. Thank
community teaching
Yeah.
singing lessons.
Yeah.
And you've got the new project, the Della kit. You released Moonbeams and Frequencies, but you also released a single, I believe,
Yeah,
or a
I
track.
released 3 remixes actually at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you working towards?
This year?
Yeah, this year, and what are you focused on for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, this year for me is all about creating the next project, but also more focusing on teaching the Sing for the Soul workshops. I'm doing a bunch of them in Vancouver right now, working individually with students, but then also tapping back into some of the youth work that I do, so youth programs throughout the summer. And I am sitting on an instrumental record of Moonbeams and Frequencies, as well as a little EP of a live in New York recording that I did last year, which is with some incredibly talented, phenomenal jazz musicians. So those things are going to be released this year, but simultaneously, I'm just like, yeah, I'm writing my new project, and if all goes well, I'll be releasing like a couple of singles throughout the summer and the fall, and just like continuing to hone in my skills. Like this year is really just about creating and being more in the flow of music and less in the flow of music business, which means like I'm not going to be doing a ton of touring, and I'm not going to be like trying to, you know, sell myself in a million different ways. It's like just getting better at everything that I'm already doing and continuing to offer myself like real time. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's been a blessing to witness you from close and from afar, your evolution, your journey, especially moonbeams and frequencies, and knowing like an early instigator of that was like a lot of our conversations when we were on tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Full circle.
Appreciate y'all.
Yes.
Yeah, actually it'll be the anniversary of the first single on Valentine's Day. The first single I dropped was Clarity on February 14th of 2022. So yeah, feels like a good time to start releasing some of the next stuff too. So yeah, cool.
Fresh start.
Thanks for having me, friends.
Thank you for being with us. I want to mention that we are located on the traditional unceded and stolen lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples who have cared for this land and these waters since time immemorial, which allows us to be here doing this right now. So we're very grateful. Thank you so much, Dee, the Delicate, for joining us on the program. This is episode 16, season 2. We're live on YouTube. Shout out to everybody watching this live and watching this after the fact. And where can people find you and your music?
Oh yeah, so the Della Della DELLA. Oh, that's
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Della, as in DELLA kit at everything, all over the place. Spotify, Tidal, the YouTube, the Instagram, Bandcamp. Yeah,
Yes.
Go to Bandcamp. Did I say SoundCloud?
SoundCloud.
We're still doing SoundCloud.
Oh, yeah.
MySpace? No, I'm just kidding.
Something's happening with SoundCloud soon.
Oh, really?
Something.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so that's it. The Delicate.
And
All
what
one
about
word.
your singing
Oh yeah,
workshops?
Pretty much the same places. Yeah, like mostly I talk about it on Instagram and Facebook. There's Sing with the Delicate on Facebook. There's also like singwiththedelicate@gmail.com. You can hit me up on an email and just let me know you want to sing with me, and I'll tell you what I have to offer you. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Any performances coming up or events?
Not that I know of.
Okay, keep an eye on those channels.
I think. That actually feels really good. No. The next thing that I'm doing officially is a DJ set in LA at Gold Diggers on March
I love that venue.
11th. March 11th.
It's a cute venue.
Yeah.
It's intimate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's dope.
Nice.
Yeah.
So for those in LA,
Yeah. All of you tuning in from LA, I love your city. Thank you for teaching me how to be hardworking. Okay, bye.
all right. This has been Vancity Beats, Eats, and more.
Really good. You're really
Peace.
good.